Welcome to Relaxed Reddit Readings. Today we have 5 Reddit stories for you. Reddit stories that will make you say, wait, what? Story 1. My brother-in-law wanted to dump his kids in my pool alone. So my husband and I just spent 2 years and a small fortune building our dream pool, and within a month my brother-in-law was already trying to use it as a free babysitting service. Let me back up. We finally got our in-ground pool put in last month. 2 years of saving, planning, dealing with contractors, the whole nightmare. We were so excited to finally have it done. And of course, everyone in the family wants to come use it, which, fine, that's part of the fun of having a pool. My brother-in-law Marcus has 3 kids, ages 4, 6, and 8. None of them know how to swim. Not a single one. He asked if he could bring them over during the summer since they don't have a pool of their own, and I said sure, of course, we'd love to have them over. But here's the thing. When I found out none of the kids could swim, I told him he needed to actually be in the water with them the whole time. Not sitting on a lounge chair scrolling his phone. Not inside grabbing a drink. In the water, actively watching 3 little kids who cannot swim. He got kind of defensive about it. Said he's watched them around water before and nothing's ever happened, and that I was being controlling about my own pool. I told him that's exactly the point, it is my pool, and my name is the one that would be on the liability if anything ever happened. I have read horror stories about how fast a kid can go under and how silent it is. It's not like the movies where they splash around yelling for help. Drowning is quiet. It happens in like 30 seconds while everyone's looking at their phone. So I told him straight up, if he wants to bring his kids over, he is in the pool with them the entire time. Not by the pool. In it. He can wear his swim trunks and get in the water like an actual supervising adult. If he doesn't want to do that, then the offer doesn't stand. Marcus was pretty annoyed. He said I was being dramatic and that his kids are more careful than I think, and that I was treating him like he's a bad father. My husband tried to smooth things over and said maybe we could compromise, like getting the kids some floaties or one of us also being out there with him. But I stood my ground. Floaties are not a substitute for an adult actually in the water with hands-on supervision. I've seen too many stories about floaties slipping off or kids tipping backward out of them. Marcus ended up telling my mother-in-law about the whole thing, and now I'm getting texts from her saying I'm being unreasonable and that pools are supposed to be fun, not this stressful ordeal with a bunch of rules. She said when her kids were little, they just kept an eye on them from a chair and everyone turned out fine. I pointed out that a lot of kids don't turn out fine in situations like that, and we just don't hear those stories because, well, they're tragedies, not anecdotes people bring up at Thanksgiving. My husband is stuck in the middle because it's his brother and his mom both piling on him about it, but he does agree with me that safety comes first. Still, he's getting tired of being the messenger between me and his family. I feel like I'm not asking for anything crazy here. I'm not saying he can never bring his kids over. I'm just saying if you're bringing 3 young children who can't swim into a pool that's over their heads in some areas, you need to be right there with them, not on the sidelines. Marcus hasn't brought the kids back since our conversation, and honestly the tension has kind of lingered ever since. My mother-in-law keeps bringing it up at family gatherings like I'm the villain of the summer. So, am I actually being controlling here, or is this just basic pool safety that any parent should already understand? If you're enjoying these stories, hit that like button and let me know in the comments which story you relate to the most. Story 2. My sister owes me money and ghosted me for months. So my older sister asked to borrow money for a favor she never did, and now I'm actually considering taking her to small claims court. I know how that sounds, suing your own sister, but let me explain how we got here. Back in 2024, my sister, who's 27, came to me and asked if she could borrow some money for a trip. In exchange, she said she'd do something for me. I won't get into the specifics, but it was a real favor, not just some vague promise. I gave her the money, somewhere between $300 and $400, because that's what sisters do, right? You help each other out. Well, after I gave her the cash, she started acting really weird around me. Distant, short with her replies, kind of avoidant. And she never did the thing she promised. I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because I really don't like conflict with my family, especially not with her. So I just let it go. I told myself, okay, it's done, move on, don't make this into a whole thing. But then a few weeks later, she asked to borrow money again. And again. Over time it added up to around $600 total that I've given her, on top of the original loan that was supposed to be repaid through that favor she never completed. I want to be really honest here, I am kind of a pushover when it comes to my family. I hate confrontation, especially with my sister, because growing up she was always the one I looked up to. So every time she asked, I found it really hard to say no, even when alarm bells were going off in my head. I've actually threatened to sue her before, half-jokingly, just venting out of frustration when she'd dodge my texts about paying me back. But recently things came to a head. I brought up the money again, calmly, just asking when she thought she'd be able to pay some of it back, even just a little at a time. And she completely flipped out on me. Told me I was being petty, that family doesn't keep score like that I was being materialistic bringing up money between siblings. But here's the thing, I'm 20 years old. I don't have some huge income. I work hard for what I have, and $600 is not nothing to me. It's rent, it's groceries, it's a decent chunk of my savings that I gave to her in good faith, trusting she'd either pay it back or actually follow through on what she promised in return. My parents are kind of stuck in the middle on this one. They've told me not to make a big deal out of it because, quote, that's just how she is, and I shouldn't expect too much from her financially. But that honestly makes me even more frustrated, because it feels like I'm the only one who's supposed to just eat the loss here while she gets a free pass because she's the older sibling. So now I'm seriously considering small claims court. I've read that you can sue for amounts like this pretty easily if you have any kind of proof, like text messages confirming the loan or bank transfer records. I do have some texts where she explicitly asks to borrow the money and says she'll pay me back. I know taking her to actual court sounds extreme for family, and I know it would basically blow up our relationship for good. But at the same time, I'm so tired of being the sibling who always gets walked over because I'm scared of conflict. Part of me feels like if I actually go through with this, everyone in the family is going to see me as the bad guy, the one who dragged their own sister to court over a few $100s. But another part of me is just exhausted from being taken advantage of over and over and never being taken seriously when I try to bring it up like an adult. So would I be the jerk for actually suing my own sister over this? Or is this exactly the kind of wake-up call she needs? Story 3. My MIL re-gifted me a present from her own closet. So my mother-in-law just handed me a birthday gift that still had someone else's initials monogrammed into it, and I genuinely don't know how I kept a straight face. Let me set the scene for you. It was my birthday not too long ago, and honestly the day itself was great. I spent it with my friends and my fiancé and just had a really lovely time celebrating. But then my mother-in-law came over to our flat to give me her gift, and this is where things got a little strange. She hands me a card and a present, and I open it up, and it's a gift card to this mid-range high street shop, the kind that sells home goods and clothing. Now, on its own, that's not a bad gift at all. It's actually a shop I used to love going to a lot in my early 20s. I'm nearly 30 now, so it's been a while since I've really shopped there, but the gesture itself, fine, no complaints. A gift card is a gift card. But here's where it gets weird. When I looked closer at the card, I noticed the amount already loaded onto it was a really oddly specific number. Not a clean round figure like 20 pounds or 50 pounds, but this strange amount like 13 pounds and something pence. And then I noticed the card itself looked worn, like it had been sitting in someone's wallet or a drawer for a while. It wasn't in its original packaging or a fresh little envelope from the store, it was just the bare card. I didn't say anything in the moment because I didn't want to seem ungrateful, especially in front of everyone. I said thank you, gave her a hug, the whole thing. But later that night, My fiancé and I were talking about it, and he actually laughed and admitted that his mom has a habit of doing this. Apparently she gets gift cards from other people, doesn't use up the full balance, and then just re-gifts them later on for birthdays or Christmas to save money. He said it wasn't the first time she's done this to someone in the family. Once I knew that, I couldn't unsee it. This wasn't a gift card she bought for me. This was leftover credit from a gift someone probably gave her, that she never fully spent, that she then wrapped up and presented to me as my actual birthday present. And it wasn't even a full amount, it was basically pocket change left on someone else's forgotten gift card. I brought it up gently with her a few days later, not in an accusatory way, just kind of joking about it, saying something like, "Oh, I noticed there's already a bit of a balance on here." And she got really flustered and defensive, said she'd been busy and didn't have time to go get me something proper, and that money is tight right now, and I should be grateful people think of me at all on my birthday. Now everyone in the family is acting like I'm the one who did something wrong for even mentioning it. My fiancé's sister said I should just be gracious and not question gifts, that it's the thought that counts. But I feel like the thought here was pretty minimal, considering this wasn't even a new gift, it was recycled leftovers from something else entirely. If she'd been upfront and said, "Hey, I don't have much extra cash right now but I want you to have something," I would have appreciated that honesty so much more than being handed someone else's used gift card and having it presented like it was thoughtfully picked out for me. My fiancé is trying to stay neutral, but I can tell he's a little embarrassed by the whole situation too. So am I really being ungrateful for feeling a bit put off by this, or is it fair to expect at least a little more effort than a regifted card with pocket change on it? Story 4. My fiancé made me walk to get food while 6 months pregnant and recovering from surgery. So I'm 6 months pregnant, still healing from my own surgery, and my fiancé told me I was the one who needed to go pick up dinner. Let me give you the background here because this whole thing still has me kind of stunned. Last Monday, so about a week before all this happened, both my fiancé's mother and I had surgery on the same day. Different procedures, different reasons, but we were both still actively healing from them. Mine is pregnancy-related, I'm 6 months along, and it's considered a high-risk pregnancy, so this wasn't some minor outpatient thing. It hurts for me to walk very far, bending over is rough, and picking up our 1-year-old daughter has been basically impossible since the surgery. Fast forward to Saturday, so we're all still healing, and we decide to order dinner from a local restaurant for the family. Nothing crazy, just supper. When the food was ready to be picked up, my fiancé announced that he would not be the one going to get it. I assumed that meant he was going to ask his mom, since she was also recovering, or honestly that he'd just go himself since he's the only one in the house who is not currently healing from a medical procedure. But no. He told me that I needed to go pick it up. Me. 6 months pregnant, high risk, still in pain from my own surgery just days earlier. I was honestly stunned. I asked him why he couldn't go, and he said he was tired and didn't feel like driving, and that it wasn't that big of a deal, it's just a quick trip. I reminded him that walking to the car and getting in and out, plus carrying bags of food, is not exactly comfortable for me right now, let alone recommended by my doctor given the high-risk status of the pregnancy. He brushed it off, saying I was being dramatic, that people who are pregnant still do things all the time, and that I wasn't an invalid. I want to be clear, I'm not trying to milk being pregnant for sympathy points. I have worked through most of this pregnancy without complaint. But this specific week, I was recovering from an actual surgical procedure, and my doctor had literally told me to minimize walking and any strain for at least the first couple weeks. So I ended up going anyway, because I didn't want to start a huge fight over dinner, and I picked up the food. It was uncomfortable and it hurt, and I came home upset, not really at the errand itself, but at the fact that he didn't even consider his own mother might need him to step up that day, and just assumed I would be the default person to handle it despite my own condition. When I got back and told him how much it actually hurt to do that, he doubled down and said I chose to go, so I shouldn't complain about it now. That really got to me. It felt like such a lack of empathy, especially considering he knew exactly what I was recovering from because we had surgery on the very same day as his mother, who he was clearly more sympathetic toward in that moment than he was toward me. I brought this up with a couple of friends and they were kind of split. Some said I should have just refused to go and let him deal with the consequences of nobody picking up the food. Others said it's understandable that in the moment I just wanted to avoid conflict and get it over with. But now I'm sitting here wondering if I was wrong for being upset about it afterward, since technically I did agree to go. He still thinks I'm overreacting and that this isn't worth being upset about days later. So am I really overreacting here, or is it fair to be hurt that my own fiancé didn't consider my recovery before asking me to run an errand that physically hurt me to do? Story 5. My family sent me a nasty message over a $3 Secret Santa overage. So apparently going $3 over budget on a Secret Santa gift makes you a terrible person now, at least according to my family's group chat. Let me explain what actually happened here because this whole thing spiraled way out of proportion. Every year my family does a holiday gift exchange through this online site, and we all agree on a $60 budget limit ahead of time. This year I picked my father's wife for the exchange. I found a gift that came out to about $45 at retail price. Sounds like I was well under budget, right? Well, once you add in taxes and shipping at checkout, the total that actually got charged to my card ended up being right around $60 exactly. Here's the thing, I genuinely thought the $60 cap was referring to the total amount coming out of your pocket, not just the sticker price of the item before any fees. That seemed like the more logical interpretation to me. I have no problem following whatever rules the group sets, I just had a different understanding of what counted toward the limit. It felt like a completely reasonable, good faith mistake, if it was even a mistake at all. Apparently though, my father's wife opened the gift, saw the receipt included in the package showing the total charge, and got upset thinking I had deliberately gone over the agreed budget to either show off or make other people's gifts look cheap in comparison. Instead of just asking me about it directly, she went to my father, and then somehow it turned into this whole thing being discussed in the family group chat without me even being part of the initial conversation. I found out something was wrong when I got a message from her that was honestly pretty hostile. It basically accused me of not respecting the rules that everyone agreed to and said it was disrespectful to the other people in the exchange who stuck to the budget. There was no room in the message for me to explain my side, it was just accusatory from the very first line. I was blindsided because in my mind I hadn't done anything wrong. I picked a gift I thought fit within the budget as I understood it, and if there was miscommunication about what counted toward the total, that seems like something to clarify calmly, not something to fire off an angry message about. I responded explaining my interpretation, that I thought the final charged amount, including tax and shipping, was what needed to stay under $60, not just the base price of the item before those extra costs. I also pointed out that the difference here was maybe a few dollars at most, we're not talking about someone spending double the agreed amount. This was barely over, and only because of taxes and shipping, which arguably shouldn't even count against the gift's actual value. Instead of accepting that this was a reasonable misunderstanding, she doubled down and said I should have asked for clarification beforehand if I wasn't sure, and that assuming the more generous interpretation was convenient for me. Now there's this weird tension hanging over the family right before the holidays, all because of what amounts to a few dollars difference caused by sales tax and a shipping fee. My dad has stayed pretty quiet about the whole thing, which honestly stings a little, because I feel like he could have stepped in and pointed out that this entire situation is being blown wildly out of proportion. Some of my other family members have said I should have just called and asked what counted before ordering anything, which, fair, maybe I should have double-checked instead of assuming. But it still feels like the reaction I got was way more hostile than a simple $3 miscalculation deserves. So was I wrong for going over budget the way I did, and more importantly, am I wrong for being upset about how hostile the message I got in response actually was? If you enjoyed these stories, drop a comment telling me which one was your favorite. And if you want more relaxed Reddit readings, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss a video. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed these stories, like, comment and subscribe for more relaxed Reddit readings.